Most people think a 23-hour fast forces fat loss just because the body has gone without food. But your body doesn't burn fat because a clock feels impressive. It burns fat when the right internal signals line up in the right order. And that's why someone can suffer through a long fast and still feel stuck around the waist. You may know that feeling. You skip breakfast, push through lunch, drink water, ignore cravings, and tell yourself the fat should be melting by now. But then the mirror barely changes, your belly feels the same, and frustration starts whispering that maybe fasting just doesn't work for you. The painful part is that your effort is real, but the biology may be moving in a completely different direction. Here's the counterintuitive part. Not eating is only the beginning of the fast. It is not the full fat-burning process. Your body still has to move through recently absorbed nutrients, stored liver sugar, shifting hormones, stress signals, and the final meal that decides what happens next. A 23-hour fast can become powerful, but only when you understand the sequence hidden underneath it. Inside your body, insulin acts like the first gatekeeper. When insulin is elevated, as insulin quiets down, fat cells can begin releasing fatty acids into the bloodstream. But even then, your body needs a reason to pull that fuel out and actually burn it. That reason can come from gentle movement, especially when you're fasting cleanly and not constantly interrupting the signal. But there's a trap. If you stack fasting with poor sleep, emotional stress, too much caffeine, and brutal workouts, cortisol can take over the story. Then the fast stops feeling like a fuel switch and starts looking like danger. This is where many people accidentally turn a fat-burning tool into a stress event. They think the harder it feels, the better it must be working. But the body does not reward punishment the way the mind expects. It responds to signals: insulin, cortisol, movement, minerals, sleep, and the way you break the fast. So the promise here is not just to explain how to fast longer. It is to show you how to fast smarter, so the body is guided towards stored fat instead of pushed into a rebound. You'll see why the early hours are not automatically fat-burning, how tiny harmless calories can keep storage signals alive, and why walking can change the entire fuel equation. You'll also see why the meal after the fast may be the most important part of the whole day. Because once you understand the hidden rhythm, a 23-hour fast stops being a test of willpower. It becomes a controlled metabolic sequence, and the first thing you need to understand is the part almost nobody explains clearly. Fasting for 23 hours does not automatically mean your body is burning fat. You can go almost an entire day without eating and still wonder why your body isn't melting fat the way you expected. That's the frustrating part about a 23-hour fast. The hunger feels immediate, but the fat-burning shift doesn't always happen immediately. Your stomach may be empty, your willpower may be working overtime, and your brain may be counting every hour like it's a survival movie. But inside your body, a much quieter process is deciding which fuel gets used first. Most people assume the moment they stop eating, their body starts digging into belly fat like it found a hidden treasure chest. So when the waistline doesn't shrink right away, it feels unfair, almost like the body is ignoring all that effort. You think, I haven't eaten all day. What else does this thing want from me? But fasting isn't just a clock. It's a sequence of fuel switches, and each switch has to happen in order. After your last meal, your body doesn't instantly forget that food ever existed. Glucose, amino acids, and fats from that meal can still be moving through your bloodstream for hours. Insulin rises to help store and manage that incoming energy, while your liver packs extra glucose away as glycogen. So in the early part of the fast, your body is often running on leftovers, not your love handles. Think of glycogen like easy cash in your wallet, while body fat is money locked in a savings account across town. Your body would rather spend the cash first, because it's quick, simple, and doesn't require much metabolic paperwork. Only when that wallet starts getting lighter does the body begin asking whether it needs to open the bigger account. That's when fat burning can start rising, but it rises gradually, not like someone flipped a dramatic Hollywood switch. Imagine someone finishing dinner at 7 p.m., then waking up proud, because they've already fasted 12 hours. They skip breakfast, feel hungry by late morning, and assume every stomach growl means fat is pouring out of storage. But depending on the previous meal, sleep, stress, and activity, their body may still be moving through the first fuel layers. The growl is not always fat loss. Sometimes it's just the body noticing that the usual delivery truck is late. This is why a 23-hour fast works best, when you stop treating it like a punishment and start treating it like a guided metabolic path. The goal is not to suffer harder, drink more coffee, or stare at the clock until the eating window finally arrives. The goal is to help the body move from absorbed food to stored liver fuel to a lower insulin state where fat becomes easier to access. That means the quality of the fast matters just as much as the length of the fast. Here's the deeper piece most people miss. Hunger and fat burning are related, but they are not the same thing. You can feel hungry because ghrelin, your hunger hormone, rises at the time your body expects food. You can also feel hungry because blood sugar is dipping, your stress is climbing, or your brain is used to constant snacks. But true fat access depends more on the hormonal environment than on how dramatic the hunger feels. So the first lesson is simple but powerful. 23 hours without food does not automatically mean 23 hours of fat burning. It means you created a window where fat burning can happen, if the right signals line up inside that window. And the first signal that decides whether stored fat stays locked away or becomes available is insulin. Because if insulin stays loud, your fat cells stay guarded, and the next part of the fast becomes much harder to use. This is where a 23-hour fast starts to become interesting, because the real fat-burning signal isn't hunger. It's silence. Not silence in your stomach, not silence in your kitchen, but hormonal silence deep inside your bloodstream. And the hormone that needs to quiet down first is insulin. The mistake is thinking, I'm basically fasting, while still giving the body tiny little reasons to stay in storage mode. A splash of sweet creamer, a few bites while cooking, a mint with sugar, a sip of juice, or a harmless snack can seem too small to matter. But your metabolism doesn't judge food by how guilty you feel about it. It judges food by the signals that enter your blood. Insulin is released when the body senses incoming energy, especially glucose and certain calorie-containing foods. Its job is protective. When insulin is higher, fat cells receive the message to hold on, because the body is already dealing with fuel from outside. When insulin gradually falls during a clean fasting window, the body can begin allowing fatty acids to leave fat cells and enter the bloodstream. Picture your fat cells like storage rooms with heavy doors, and insulin as the security guard standing in front of them. When insulin is active, the guard doesn't care how badly you want the stored fuel inside. He sees incoming energy and says, no need to open these rooms yet. We've got supplies arriving. But when the deliveries stop and insulin steps away, those doors become much easier to open. This is why someone can fast for hours and still accidentally keep the wrong signal alive. Imagine a woman who skips breakfast and lunch, but drinks sweet coffee at 9 a.m., chews sugary gum at noon, and tastes dinner while cooking. To her mind, she has barely eaten, so she expects a deep fat-burning day. To her body, small signals keep whispering, food is still coming, stay ready to store. The practical move is to keep the fasting window boring in the best possible way. Water, black coffee, or plain tea can work for many people, and electrolytes may help if headaches or weakness show up. No grazing, no liquid calories, no just a bite, and no sweet drinks pretending they're innocent. A clean signal gives the body a clean message. No new fuel is arriving. It also changes which fuels your cells are encouraged to burn. When insulin is higher, your body leans toward using incoming glucose because it's quick burning and needs to be managed. When insulin drops, the body gets permission to shift toward fatty acids, the slower backup fuel stored for long gaps without food. So low insulin opens the first door, but it doesn't drag the fuel out by itself. It simply removes the guard from the storage room and makes fat available. The body still needs a reason to pull more of that stored energy into circulation and actually use it. And that reason often comes from one of the simplest signals you can send during the fast: gentle movement. Once insulin gets quiet, your body has access to stored fuel, but access is not the same as demand. That's the part most people miss. A fat cell can be ready to release energy, but your body still needs a reason to ask for it. And one of the cleanest reasons you can give it during a fast is a calm, steady walk. The common mistake is fasting like a statue. You skip food all day, sit at a desk, scroll through your phone, answer emails, and expect the body to burn fat just because the clock is moving. But the body doesn't only respond to time. It responds to need, and sitting still doesn't create much of a need for extra fuel. When you move at a low intensity, while insulin is low, your muscles begin asking for energy without creating a major stress alarm. Because no food is coming in, and glucose is not being constantly replaced, the body has to become smarter with its fuel choices. Fat cells release fatty acids into the bloodstream, and your muscles can use those fatty acids to help power the movement. This is how fasting and walking can work together. Low insulin opens the door, and movement creates the pull. Picture walking as a gentle drain placed at the bottom of your bloodstream. It doesn't yank energy out violently, and it doesn't flood the system with panic. It simply creates a steady flow, telling the body, we're using fuel now, so send something useful. And when the quick-burning fuel is limited, your backup battery becomes more important. Think about someone doing a 23-hour fast while sitting through a long workday. By late afternoon, they feel foggy, irritated, and strangely disappointed because the fast feels hard but not productive. Now imagine that same person taking a calm 30-minute walk during the fasting window, breathing through the nose, moving at a pace where conversation is still possible. The fast suddenly becomes less. The practical move is not to punish yourself with a brutal workout deep into the fast. Use movement as a signal, not a sentence. A 28 to 45-minute walk during the fasting window can be enough for many healthy adults to increase energy demand without overwhelming the nervous system. Keep it relaxed, steady, and repeatable, like you're walking with purpose, not escaping a bear in discount sneakers. Here's the deeper insight. Fasted movement teaches metabolic flexibility. That means your body gets better at switching between glucose and fat instead of panicking whenever food is delayed. Over time, your muscles become more comfortable using fatty acids, your blood sugar may feel steadier, and hunger waves may become less dramatic. You are not just burning calories, you are training the body to trust a different fuel source. But there is a hidden line you do not want to cross. If the walk turns into an exhausting workout, or the fast is stacked on poor sleep, too much caffeine, and a stressful day, the signal can change. What was supposed to be a gentle request for stored fat can start looking like danger to the body. And when the body senses danger, another hormone can step onto the stage and completely change the story. But the same fast that helps one person feel calm, clear, and lighter can make another person feel wired, cold, anxious, and stuck. That doesn't mean fasting is useless, and it doesn't mean your body is broken. It means your body may be reading the fast as a threat instead of a fuel switch. The common mistake is trying to force fat loss by making everything harsher at the same time. You fast longer, drink more caffeine, sleep less, train harder, and tell yourself the misery means it must be working. But intensity is not the same as progress. Sometimes, it's just your nervous system waving a red flag while you call it discipline. During fasting, cortisol rises, naturally, to help keep blood sugar stable when food is not coming in. In the right amount, this is protective, because cortisol tells the liver to release glucose so your brain and body don't crash. But when cortisol stays elevated from poor sleep, emotional stress, too much coffee, or punishing workouts, the signal changes. Cortisol liver glucose release, insulin response, cravings, and water retention, fat cells, become harder to access. Think of cortisol like an alarm system inside a building. A short alarm is useful when there's a real emergency, because it gets everyone moving and keeps the lights on. But if the alarm screams all day and all night, the building doesn't repair itself, clean itself, or open the storage room calmly. It locks down, guards the exits, and treats every missing meal like proof that resources are unsafe. Imagine someone fasting for 23 hours after sleeping 5 hours, waking up to stressful messages, drinking 3 large coffees, and then doing intense intervals at hour 18. By dinner, they're shaky, irritable, freezing, and starving, but they think, this must be fat burning, because it feels brutal. Inside the body, the story may be very different. The liver may be pushing out glucose, insulin may be rising to manage it, and belly fat may be staying protected like emergency fuel. The practical move is to make the fast feel firm but safe. Prioritize sleep the night before, keep caffeine earlier and controlled. Use minerals like sodium and magnesium if they fit your needs, and choose walking over punishment. Avoid brutal workouts deep into the fast, especially if you already feel wired, dizzy, or drained. And anyone with diabetes, medication use, pregnancy, nursing, or a history of eating disorders should speak with a qualified professional before aggressive fasting. Here's the deeper insight. Your body does not separate fasting stress from life stress. It adds them together like charges on the same bill. A 23-hour fast on a calm, well-rested day can feel like a clean metabolic signal, but the same fast during sleep debt and emotional overload can become a survival alarm. The body isn't asking, are you disciplined? It's asking, are we safe enough to release stored fuel? So the goal is not to crush your body into burning fat. The goal is to lower insulin while keeping the nervous system calm enough to allow fat release. Once the fasting window has done its job, the final decision happens at the meal. Because one chaotic refeed can turn a fat-burning day into a storage-heavy night. This is the moment that decides whether the fast becomes a clean metabolic rhythm or a messy rebound. After 23 hours, your body is sensitive, hungry, and ready to absorb. That meal is not just food after fasting. It's a signal that tells your hormones what kind of night and what kind of next fast. The mistake is treating the meal like a reward for surviving the day. You hold back for 23 hours, then open the door to pizza, dessert, chips, sweet drinks, and anything that didn't run away fast enough. Or you do the opposite and eat too little because you're afraid of ruining the fast. Both extremes can confuse the body. One floods the system. When you break the fast, insulin rises because food is finally entering the bloodstream again. That rise is not bad. Insulin helps move nutrients into muscle, liver, and other tissues that need repair. But a chaotic meal can send glucose up fast, push insulin higher, trigger cravings, and make sleep worse later. A structured meal gives the body nutrients without turning the refeed into a storage-heavy emergency. Think of your body, after a long fast, like a dry sponge sitting on the counter. If you pour clean water over it slowly, it absorbs beautifully and becomes useful again. If you dump sticky syrup on it, the whole thing gets messy, heavy, and hard to clean. Your refeed should refill the system, not drown it. Imagine someone finishing a 23-hour fast and breaking it with a large sugary meal because they earned it. An hour later, they feel bloated, sleepy, restless, and strangely hungry again, even though they just ate a mountain of food. That crash isn't weakness, it's biology. Fast glucose rise, bigger insulin response, energy dip, cravings. The next fast feels twice as hard. The practical move: start with protein first, like eggs, salmon, chicken, lean beef, Greek yogurt, tofu, or legumes, because amino acids help repair tissue and support fullness. Then add fiber-rich vegetables, minerals, healthy fats like olive oil or avocado, and carbohydrates matched to your activity level. After the meal, a gentle 10 to 15-minute walk can help your muscles pull glucose from the blood and soften the insulin demand. Here's the deeper insight. The meal is not the end of the fast. It's the setup for the next one. Protein helps satiety hormones speak clearly. Minerals help fluid balance. Fiber feeds the gut. And smart carbohydrates can refill glycogen without creating a sugar roller coaster. When the refeed is calm and nutrient-dense, your brain receives a powerful message. Resources are available. Repair can happen. And there is no need to panic tomorrow. That's how fasting becomes sustainable, instead of turning into a daily battle between hunger and guilt. When you understand the full sequence, the 23-hour fast stops being a test of who can suffer the longest. It becomes a controlled rhythm. Insulin quiets, stored fuel becomes available, movement creates demand, stress stays calm, and the meal restores the system. You're not trying to bully your body into burning fat. You're learning how to send the right signals at the right time, and that changes the entire story. By now, the 23-hour fast should look very different from how most people explain it. It is not a hunger contest. It is not a badge of discipline. It is a sequence of biological signals that either guide your body towards stored fat or push it back into protection mode. Your body is not confused because it hates you. It is responding to the information you give it all day long. Food tells one story, insulin tells another, movement adds a new signal, stress changes the meaning, and the refeed decides what happens next. Fat loss becomes clearer when you stop blaming the body and start reading its messages. When insulin quiets down, the first door opens. When gentle movement enters the picture, the body has a reason to pull fuel from storage. When cortisol stays controlled, the fast feels less like danger and more like a calm shift in energy supply. And when the meal is structured, the whole rhythm becomes easier to repeat. That is the real power here. Not forcing your body with more suffering, but giving it fewer mixed signals. A clean fasting window, a steady walk, controlled caffeine, better sleep, minerals. When one wrong note does not ruin the song, but the more aligned the signals become, the better the body can respond. So, as you think about your next fast, do not only ask, how many hours can I go? Ask a better question. What message am I sending during those hours? Are you telling your body that fuel is unavailable but safety is present? Or are you telling it that food is scarce, stress is high, and it needs to hold on tighter? Which of these signals do you think your body has been receiving every day? Have you been fighting your body when what it really needed was a different message? And when you learn how to speak its language, your body can finally start answering in a different way. If you feel like your body is constantly stuck in alert mode, with poor sleep, fatigue, untimely hunger, and stubborn abdominal fat, I've prepared the complete Cortisol Reset bundle. Inside, you'll receive the main guide, the Cortisol Reset, plus 2 bonuses, low nighttime cortisol protocol and cortisol, insulin, and abdominal fat. The link is in the description.